Hi, it's Joe Mazumdar of Exploration Insights at the Metals Investment Forum pre-PDAC in Toronto. And with me right now is Kris Begic, the Vice President of Corporate Development for Platinum Group Metals.
Good to see you, Joe.
Hey, Kris. Last time we met was at Cape Town for Indaba, and you recently got back from the BMO conference.
Correct.
So what is your take on what are you seeing in these conferences?
Sure. I mean, I've got to say that there's quite a bit of exuberance around commodity prices, not just for platinum and palladium. I was quite taken aback by some of the major companies at the BMO conference and the level of confidence they had around copper prices, nickel prices, and
these were the producers.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that one of the big themes I noticed was just the geopolitical themes around commodities. And I think that will underpin most commodity prices, or that's the general view.
And so also we were talking off air, you were saying that now we're starting to see car manufacturers go to these mining conferences, and you saw that happening down in Florida.
Absolutely. I think all the major OEMs were present at the conference. The mandate is to look for battery materials, to take interest, to own them now. Previously, they were buyers, they were price takers, not price makers.
Yeah.
And so it's actually quite amazing to look at the Teslas and the General Motors and the Fords out there looking to actually own ownership, take positions in owning some of these lithium, nickel, cobalt mines.
Yeah, we've seen GM try to make the $700 million investment with Lithium Americas for the Thacker Pass, and we saw rumors that Tesla was bidding on Sigma Lithium in Brazil. Yeah. So platinum, palladium are not part of the battery chemistry right now. So why the interest maybe in your project, which is the Waterberg Project in South Africa?
Yeah, I think there's been a noticed shift, I think, in the last year around the metals, and it's off the back of the Russia-Ukraine situation. So most people don't realize that the bulk of these metals come from two countries, South Africa and Russia. Russia produces about 50% of the world's palladium, which is used in auto catalysts. And South Africa produces about 80% of the world's platinum, which is also used in auto catalysis. It's finding new uses in hydrogen and fuel cells as well, which is kind of the other battery metal, if you will. But I think geopolitically, there's a lot going on behind the scenes with these metals. And with our project, we've got the Japanese government involved. And they're quite heightened about the influence of Russia and their exposure to Russian metal.
And so they're looking for the palladium for their hybrid vehicles.
Hybrid and traditional gasoline engines. I think we were talking earlier about where's the powertrain going in the future. There's probably a little bit too much exuberance around battery electrics.
Yeah.
I think the PGM industry's come to terms with the fact that battery electric vehicles are here to stay. But will they be 100% of the market in the next 10 years? Absolutely not. And there will be a place for platinum and palladium in cars.
Okay, so let's talk about the Waterberg Project. The Waterberg Project was something that was actually discovered by you guys and, in a part of the bushveld that people didn't think existed. Sure.
So we did build a conventional platinum mine back in 2005, 2006, which we subsequently sold. And at that time, we decided to start a sort of a new business venture looking for new deposit types in South Africa. And we went up on the North Limb, which is a well-known area, but we went undercover and we discovered what's called the Waterberg Project with the assistance of the Japanese government, who initially funded the initial exploration work.
And this one is more palladium rich than platinum rich.
It is. It's 63% palladium. It's got a very good platinum credit. It's got a very good nickel copper credit and about a 6% gold credit, which is quite unusual for these South African mines. So yeah, it's the diversity of the basket, I think, mitigates risk in having just one metal.
Right. And so right now, that was discovered when, like almost
2011.
2000, almost more than a decade ago.
Yes.
Now you are looking at advancing it to production. So we're talking permitting, we're talking about infrastructure, we're talking about water, we're talking about power. So can you go through some of those things that you guys are de-risking right now?
Sure. So, as you said, it's been 10 years since we made the discovery. And I think in mining terms, that's a heartbeat.
Yep.
And, we still haven't even started the construction of the project. So in 2019, we finished the definitive feasibility study. And subsequent to that, we received our mining right from the South African government. And that included social and labor plan, environmental impact assessment. So all the permitting's done. And we've been working on the financing package over the last few years. And the biggest piece of that is an offtake agreement, which we're still looking to secure.
Offtake agreement for all the metals or just the palladium?
For all the metals. So traditionally, as a junior company in South African platinum, you would sell your concentrate to one of the smelters in South Africa.
That's right. On the west part of the bushveld, that's where all the plants are.
Sure. And there's 4 smelters. There's Anglo-American, Sibanye, Northam, and Impala Platinum. Impala is a partner in the project, and we've been speaking with them about potential offtake opportunities as well.
Does the offtake come with cash up front?
It doesn't. It's more of a sort of sale of concentrate.
De-risking for somebody who would give you
Of course, and the financing is really contingent on the offtake. So we've secured, or we've been working on significant financing, but the ability to unlock the money is contingent on getting the offtake agreement.
So I've been to this project several years ago, and what are the, I remember there was some access to water. Have you sorted out all the water requirements for that plant?
Sure. So under the feasibility study, water will be sourced from groundwater. And we did quite a bit of work in understanding the water table in the area. And even though it is a very arid and very dry part of South Africa, there is quite a bit of groundwater. In fact, Anglo-American has a mine just to the north, the Venetia Diamond Mine, which accesses 100% of their water through the water table. Okay. So we have agreements with the local municipality to access groundwater.
So water is for that throughput, because this is really a bulk tonnage underground mine.
Correct.
And that's basically what a lot of the South Africans are trying to do. They want to have higher productivity, less labor, and trying to do bulk mining. And so the other question is, like, when we were in Cape Town, and that's been an issue in South Africa with Eskom.
Yes.
Sorry. They had 100 days rolling of blackouts. So how do you deal with the power issues of South Africa that other companies, producers are doing right now?
Sure. I'm sure when you were in Cape Town, you noticed the lights going on and off on a regular basis.
Yeah, I think the hotel I was at actually had some kind of generator.
Sure.
It just flicked and then it came back on again.
It's pretty standard.
Yeah.
So listen, power is a problem in South Africa. There's no question. And I think the optics around power are very negative for anyone who's looking to invest in the country. Our understanding and our view is that in the next 3 to 5 years, that issue should be resolved. It's going to take a lot of work, a lot of money, and a lot of time to get it fixed. Thankfully, we're not in production yet. So if you look at the results from the major producers, they're being very negatively affected by this power uncertainty. And in fact, Stillwater came out just a few weeks ago and said that up to 15% of their production is at risk because of the power uncertainty. So, we'll have access to power during construction, which will be relatively low. But once we're in full commercial production, we're going to need more certainty on power.
I know there's a company I saw down there, a manganese company, because South Africa is a big manganese producer, and they built a solar farm. Is that something you're considering, solar and renewables?
We are. So just going back to the technical work, we're in the process of updating our feasibility study. So that'll be completed later this year. And as part of that process, we're looking at renewable power, and solar will be the key.
Okay.
Yeah.
So background is, we're not going to see potentially 100% EV penetration. We still might need hybrids. Hybrids need palladium in the internal combustion engines. Waterberg's a project that's up and coming. So in terms of catalysts, what should anybody who's looking at Platinum Group Metals look for in the next 6 to 12 months?
Sure. So there's a bunch of things actually going on behind the scenes. Number one is the offtake. So we are quite advanced on an offtake discussion with one of the smelters, and we're hoping to announce that in the next 3 to 6 months. I alluded to the Japanese.
Do you need the feasibility study before you sign the offtake?
We don't. I think before we've finished the overall project finance, we'll have to have that feasibility study done. There will be capital inflation from 2019, so that that $650 million capital number that we publicly disclose will change. The question is, how much higher will it be? And so when you're looking at arranging debt and equity, and we're also looking at a gold stream, those numbers will have to fall into place with the updated capital. I think the other big catalyst, and I alluded to the Japanese government involvement vis-a-vis what's going on with Ukraine. So the government has approached us on providing debt financing for the project through the Japanese development banks. And so we're hoping that in the next 3 to 4 months, we'll be able to announce a debt package through the government of Japan.
But it would be consecutive, like the catalyst would be the offtake, and the offtake would lead to
the announcement of the debt financing. There'll be a $300 million gold stream, which we're very close to announcing with one of the major streaming companies. And then the last piece would be project equity from all the partners. So all of that will be wrapped up and then announced as the feasibility process.
So we're talking 6 to 12 months for that.
Correct. Towards the end of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kris, thank you very
Thanks,
much,
Joe.
sir.
It's a pleasure being here.
That's Platinum Group Metals with the Waterberg Project, a PGM project in the Northern Bushveld Complex in South Africa. And that's it for me, Joe Mazumdar, Exploration Insights at the Metals Investor Forum in Toronto, pre-PDAC. Thank you very much for listening.